Did you know we share 97.5% of our DNA with mice? That's something that I learned during my conversation with Rysheem Mcgirt, a full-time project manager who oversees the welfare and husbandry of animals in a major research lab outside of Baltimore, Maryland, where he's from. He holds an associate's degree in animal welfare science, a bachelor's degree in management studies, and just recently completed his master's in business administration, or MBA, from the University of Maryland Global Campus. Rysheem is also a DoorDasher. He's worked as a custodian at BWI and a crab runner at a popular seafood restaurant on the east side of Baltimore City, where he grew up and still lives today. We met when Rysheem was 18 years old, and the youngest person to ever volunteer with the Marine Mammals Department at the National Aquarium, where I worked as a full-time dolphin trainer. His career since then has taken some interesting and very relatable twists and turns. Thanks to the work done by Rysheem and the talented, dedicated people on his team, scientists are working towards helping someone we know beat cancer and learning more about how to protect soldiers in modern-day chemical warfare. I had a blast reconnecting with my friend, and I hope our conversation gives you a glimpse into the life of a real person doing the not-so-glamorous, behind-the-scenes work critical to the success of research. You might even get a sample of my glorious Baltimore accent on this episode of Blue Collar, White Coat. Hi, Rysheem. Thank you so much for joining me on Blue Collar, White Coat. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you too, Amy. It's a really nice that you are putting effort in to do a podcast like this to talk about the STEM, community and how that different paths of life can lead people to STEM. So this is going to be, I'm sure, a great podcast. I know I'm your first person, so that feels great. And then we have crossed paths in STEM in the animal husbandry realm. So it is good to chat about that and see where we both have branched out to and things like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited. And people are going to get this joke in a second, but you're definitely my guinea pig. Excited to hear about your path and how you found the sciences, how you found STEM and the path to get there. So I guess first, just give us a quick rundown on what it is that you do now.
Yeah, so currently I'm a project manager. I oversee a joint venture contract that has animal husbandry technicians and veterinarian and vet techs. So it's at the chemical defense. So a lot of time we do testing on animal models with different type of chemicals to see how they are affected by them. And once we see how they're affected, we make the researchers make up the treatment plan on how to treat those chemicals. For us on our side, what we do is just make sure, as the animals are being housed there, that we are making sure that they're getting food, water, and 24-hour care, even if they're not on a study. Just making sure that they're getting that welfare 24 hours, 365 days a year.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to talk more about that. Behind the curtain, Rashim and I gave this a test run, and I actually learned so much just in the short time that we talked. So if you're hearing, animal testing and chemical warfare and you're getting freaked out right now, stick with us. We're going to talk more about that animal welfare component because it's really amazing and reassuring to know that folks like Rashim and his team are in charge of it at a facility like that. So yeah, how did you get here? Let's kind of start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's start. So, at one point in time, I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be, a councilman. I wanted to be the president. I wanted to be,
You still
and I
got
wanted
time.
to,
You still
yeah,
got
I
time.
did. And I wanted to, work with Dolphins, at the age of, wow, 7, 6, 7. And I had the opportunity to do that. And then, being a volunteer, dolphin trainer assistant, really branched myself to go in different directions. That had me, I had the opportunity to work at a shelter. I had the opportunity to work at animal hospitals, and now I'm working in research. So, yeah, I didn't. So my first and ever being able to work with animals was dolphins. That's how me and you met. And then even there, it taught me that, a lot of people don't understand that it requires a lot of cleaning, us paying attention to, local regulations and, federal regulations. And and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, they're just playing all day," and no, we're cleaning, and
Yeah.
then we're sorting through fish, and so having that understanding that it's more than
Playtime, more than
playtime.
what they
Yes,
see in the movies or whatever.
yeah, yeah, free willing or whatever, but
Yeah.
it was more than that, and then that which brings me so much joy because there's other things and places that holding us accountable to make sure that the animals
Yeah.
are well taken care of. But before having a vision of even being a scientist, it started in middle school with me. My sixth grade teacher actually name is Parfit. I wasn't
Shout
the best
out.
student. Yeah, shout out to Miss Parfit. I still follow her on Facebook. Very was a very great teacher. I wasn't the best student, but she really installed in me. She was like, I just think, you talk about, how your love for animals and you want to be this, you want to be a dolphin trainer when you grow up. And she was like, "Well, you got to learn the basics, and every day, usually after school, I would, stay there to learn as much as I can. I didn't have the best home situation. I wish it was better, but I had to stay at school longer to make sure my grades were good. Still was a bad student,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I
but
feel that.
yeah, but after a while, it was just like really learning, just learning the rain cycle or oh my God, anything environmental on how we can do better, but that's where I started, middle school, and Miss Parfit really just sitting with me and, going over her experience before she became a teacher and things like that. So that has piqued my interest and has been with me ever since.
Yeah, it's amazing how it can just take like one person, that one teacher that's really engaged and invested in their students and sees the potential. And I'm really glad that you talked about like not being a great student because I feel like there's so much pressure to have straight A's and be in AP classes and get into the best schools and the best
Yes.
programs. And I was a C student, baby, like middle of the road C student. I wasn't put, I was one of those kids where the teachers would be like, I just wish she would apply herself more.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just wasn't like a whiz kid. I had to work my butt off. Mr. Rankwitz is one of my teachers that like
Hey,
shout out to
shout out,
him.
shout out.
Shout out because he was one of the first ones that like the first semester he gave me like, I was failing that class and he was like, guess it's time to figure it out. He's like, I know you like this stuff, and I worked my butt off. I studied. That was the first class in high school that I really like studied for, and I ended up getting a B, and it was like the most hard fought. Like I needed like medals on my chest. Ooh, sorry, microphone for that because like I fought so hard for that. This is
Yeah,
pre ADHD diagnosis and everything, so it was a lot. And it all it takes is that one teacher to kind of really like not just support you but also challenge you a little bit and kind of like prod you a little bit. So I'm really glad that you talked about that. And uh you know I'm hoping that listeners of the show come to understand like, hey, you don't have to be a astrophysicist coming out of the womb.
yes,
There's
yes,
different
no, that
routes to get
is
there. So
right.
did you end up going to college right after high school then?
So I did go to college, and then I had another dream of becoming a veterinarian. So I took the pre-vet route, and I wanted to major in biology and psychology. Do
That's what
that
I did.
major.
There's a degree right behind this computer that says that right now. So I
Right,
got you.
but actually, I dropped out. I dropped. So these came later in life. We'll talk
Yeah.
about those.
Hey. Yep.
so, I dropped out. Right. So I went to St. Mary's College in Southern Maryland for a little while,
Cool.
and then I transferred to UMBC. And then I got to a point where I was like, well, I just don't know what I want to do. I wasn't motivated with the sciences too much no more. And I didn't know. I didn't know if I wanted to, you know, when an interview come around for dolphin training, that I wanted to stay in the dolphin field or the zoo and aquarium field, or what did I want to do? I did not know.
It's awful because I feel like they put so much pressure on us to know. Like the
Yeah,
second you turn 18 or the second you graduate college or high school, they were like, you better have it all figured out. You better figure it out,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm glad that you're talking about this too, because a lot of folks I think can relate for sure. So
Yeah, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I just want to enjoy life. So, but so I did, partying and going out there. I was enjoying life, but then I got back. So then I found a spark, and it was lab animal science. And I was like, this is, great. And I want to be the best animal husbandry technician ever.
yeah.
So when I did, I was working at Barks Animal Shelter in Baltimore and the vet tech
Shout out
there.
again. I love Bark.
Yes, Barks. I was working at Barks, and the vet tech there said, "Hey, I'm going to, work at the NIH." I was like, "What is the NIH?" And that's the National Institution of Health. And she was actually going to the one that was in Bethesda, which is main
Mm,
campus,
yeah.
but she told me that there was positions for the one that is in Baltimore, on the Bayview campus. So she was like, "Yeah, it pays a little bit more, and they need help." And so I applied for a cage wash technician, which a cage wash technician is very vital to the operation of husbandry. So they're basically cleaning, making sure all the cages are sanitized and sterilized. And they make sure the toys look great for the
Huge.
animals,
Yeah.
and they just do a lot of double checking of the equipment. And I applied for that position because I didn't have no experience in lab animal science. And when I got there, it was like, "No, you have a husbandry experience." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know." I'm like, at the time I was 20. So I was like, "Oh, I didn't know." Sure. So they offered me an animal caretaker job. So I was taking care of the mice at the time. And they was just on genetic studies at the time. And once learning that, I was like, well, how can I advance myself? So I started looking at the breeder tech. So the breeder techs play a good role in, taking the samples from the animals and making sure that they are the right genotypes and they're expressing the right phenotypes and things like that. So
Oh wait,
I
time
just
out.
oh,
Genotypes and phenotypes.
genotypes and phenotypes.
Right. Let's give me a definition using
Got you.
no big
Okay.
terms.
So no big terms. You're right.
Right.
Correct. So genotype is just the gene expression that we express.
Cool.
So like your Y and X chromosomes, things like that. What you're getting from your mom and dad. So that's what the
Code, kind
gene.
of the code
You're
of
right.
like
Right. Right.
of
Is the
what
code.
the phenotype is, which is yeah,
Phenotype.
right. Yeah,
It's just the
exactly.
physical appearance. So I had my mom and my dad were African American, and then they made me.
Yep.
So that's the
So
phenotype of it.
right. No, I love that. That's like such a good. It's like what you see is
Yeah.
the phenotype. The genotype is basically the code for how
That-
those genes are expressed. So anyway,
correct.
I had
Yes.
to stop
No.
you on
That's
that.
I love it. I love it. Simple science is good science.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. So yes. No big words. So yeah. So I became a breeder tech, and I was just loving how the team that I work. We always number one thing we always talked about, even for mice, was do they have water? Do they have food? Is there bedding soil? Even though we all, as humans, we love for rodents to be clean, but in reality, rodents are not the cleanest animal. They don't like to be clean. They love
Oh my
dirty.
god.
But us, we have to make sure that the cages are not cracked, the lids are on properly. We use something that's called a shoebox caging, where just like if you had just a cage at home, just for like a hamster or any other type of small rodent or rat or whatever it may be. But we make sure we double check. We check sometimes it's recommended to check twice with once in the morning and then do a PM. But some of us do three times, right before we leave lunch or something like that. So I just was so intrigued on when I came in research, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh wow, these animals are I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
hero. These
Yeah.
animals are
Yeah.
not being taken care of, you know what I
Right.
mean? But when I went in there, I mean, oh my God, the facility, amazing, immaculate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and, and, and it was well capped, and I had to get on board. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So just to know that made me feel good that there was other people just like myself that were caring for
Like
mice. Yeah,
invested in the
invested. And I was
it's
like,
yeah, like, I'm sorry, it's almost like
no, no.
your career path, like, to me, like, being with dolphins first is
Mhm.
first of all, listeners and watcher, like, that is not how it goes, right? Like, dolphins are something that you typically work up to, and but because you started with dolphins and in the United States, dolphins in human care have rigorous standards for
Yes.
institutions that house them. I'm
Yes.
talking about, like, USDA comes and inspects, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which is the accreditation organization, comes and inspects. They get random inspections too, and when
Yes.
I went from dolphins to food service, like human food service, I like it's not that I had to like step down, but I was ready. I was like gloves, like disinfection, like proper freezer storage, temp
Yeah.
checking, like all the things,
Yeah.
scrubbing, and it just it prepared me really well, honestly, to go into like human food service, and in a lot of ways, like it's more stringent for animals, and dolphins are animals that, as we know, people have really big feelings about, and so, to
Yes.
your point, talking about mice, where people see them as pests, people think they're gross. They're not the first choice for pets or for animal welfare campaigns, or animal rights campaigns, rather. Like because you started with such a high standard, you walked in and it was like you were among peers. You were like, "Oh, y'all are for real. You take this seriously. The animals come first, and I'm ready for this because this is my background too." That's so cool. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. No, you hit it right on the nose, yes. That's how that transition was, and like I said, just to reiterate, it's just that I didn't know what to expect, so you just heard that animal research. That word has, um, a negative connotation around it, but if you're in it, you're like, "Oh, wow, yeah, animal
Yeah.
research. Yeah, we're fighting for the animal." We understand that most of the scientific advances is due to these animals, so it is a privilege. It is not a it's not we gotta do it is a privilege to have these animals, go through these things in order to, advance research. And also, it's animals for veterinarian care as well is also helping other animals. So it's definitely a privilege, and
I love that.
I'm
I love
looking
that.
at
I
every
love
day.
that. It's a privilege. I think, being a dolphin trainer was a privilege for a lot of
Yeah,
reasons that we can get into, but like
yeah,
even being able to walk into a grocery store and get any kind of meat, any kind of produce, it's a privilege, and it's not only because of all the work that goes into raising animals and taking care of crops and harvesting those things, but also the animals themselves. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I could get on a soapbox about, gratitude and how the um just the animal any animal industry, like, the folks that are in it have that sense of a reverence, and
yeah,
have that sense wait, reverence? I never know. Have that sense of, like, I don't wanna say holiness, but, like, privilege that, like, "Hey, we get to do this." These animals, unfortunately, it's not like they can volunteer, but these animals' lives matter, and they're going to a bigger purpose that ultimately is gonna help us, so it's a privilege to take care of them and to give them the best life possible. I just love that. I think that was one of the things you said the last time we spoke that really just struck me as even being in the animal field myself at one point, like, I had never thought of it that way. It was really cool.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. That's how I look at it. And even working with the Dolphins, like you said, me starting on a high, like, I was just like, wow, I didn't think I would be able to do that until I graduated college. And then after I done, after I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to college," and then dropped out. I was like, "Oh, my dreams are shattered of becoming a full-time trainer or whatever." But I mean, even just to speak to that and just for you guys who have been there before me, and I loved always talking to you guys and y'all passion was just so like it was so contagious. And I was like, yes, this is where I want to be. But then, I was like, dolphin training is great, and then I was like, I just want to do something else that's more impactful because
Big
that,
world. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
yeah,
and we can talk about your why in a second. But to your point about being around passionate people and how it makes you feel and getting to start with dolphins in the first place, like again, that's not typically how it goes. And
yeah,
one of the reasons that you were ushered in was that you had this record of responsibility, um, because you didn't have a normal childhood, and you don't have to go into it as much, if you don't want to, but you had to raise yourself. You had to be a grown up way sooner than most people do, and you had a sense of like how to show up on time, how to have your uniform put together, like a lot of stuff that college
yeah,
kids, interns maybe don't have that same, instinct because they haven't had the same life experience. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to clarify, uh, there was a reason that you got that privilege so soon, and it was because you were ready for it. You were ready for it.
yeah. Yeah, and and I'll dive a little deep in that too. So, as you know, my mom passed away when I was 7, and that's when life, as a kid, you think that your parents will never ever, you at 7, I didn't even know what death was, and just to watch your mother just lay there and lifeless, you're like, oh, everybody's like, oh, you're gonna see her one day, and I didn't know, heaven and earth, and they're like, oh, you're gonna see her one day. So to me as a child, I didn't think I was like, okay, I'll see mommy. I guess she's just resting, but it really hit me later in life. And she passed away from cancer. That's another reason why that pushes me to make sure that, animals are research because at that time, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I could have done anything when I was younger to be like a technician. I was 7, but but now I think about that and that motivates me to push, science even more for any, advances that it may find. But yeah, just losing her, and then later down the road, just losing my grandmother who also took time to raise me and things like that. My aunt helping and assisting with that. And then at the age of 16, I was emancipated. Having to do things on my own did play a part. I couldn't really participate in school activities. I had to tell my teachers that, look, is it okay if you give me a packet for the week because I had to work. I had to,
Bills to
you
pay,
know
literal bills to pay.
right,
Yeah.
bills to pay,
Yeah.
and then I appreciate that, my friends of the family for, letting me, stay at their house and things like that. Or other family members just let me, stay if I can, but it still was hard. But even in those times, I just was like, I have a goal that I have to meet, and there's things that I want to do in life, so I can't stop. Because if I stop, no telling, I always say no telling where I would be at today. So you can't on that message, I just say, yeah, my mother played a big role in her illness as well as to why I keep pushing for, research. And I relate that to other people, but I say, hey, you ever lost somebody to cancer? Well, they have a cancer model now for that. And, depending on what the cancer may be, they're are investing time. And this is how research, and a lot of people feel that connection because like, wow, your mother. I had a cousin. The
Mhm.
bonding is different there, but I had a cousin that probably went through that. We just had that conversation. Then after a while, people's like, "Oh wow, okay, I understand. Like, I I get you.
Why?
I
There's
get
always
you."
a why.
Yeah,
Any science, scientists, but anybody in STEM. it's very rarely because it pays the bills. That's
Yeah.
very rarely the
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
I mean, what I do now definitely pays more bills than the dolphin training did, but that's
Me
another
too.
story
Me
too.
too.
But I love how your story brings together these two elements though of one, losing your mom from cancer. Your grandmother also a health related issue too, right?
Yes, my grandmother had a heart attack, but my grandmother also had high blood pressure. You know, she had diabetes. So, yeah, all of the a majority, I would say, anybody in my family never really died from natural causes,
Mm,
or the
yeah.
body was just like, like no, I can't do it no more. Somebody had died from some type of health cause in my family, and I also use that diabetes as a big thing, and not just only my family, the Black community. So a
Mm,
lot of times when I'm talking to, other people in my community, I just say, hey, diabetes, they are making this, advancement and trying to, you know, find a better replacement with insulin. And this is how it's working. And I try to find resources to actually talk about it. If I don't know the exact thing, but I know that they're trying to find things like that.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's a huge part too, the how the information is disseminated among people that
Yeah.
aren't necessarily looking for it, which like, hi, that's
Yep.
what we're doing here. Welcome
Yeah.
to Blue Collar White Coat Podcast.
Yes.
You didn't know we were filming the trailer today, but no, I'm just kidding. So,
You didn't
but
know it.
but I but I love that about your story because your why and your work experience so beautifully interact to make you perfect for the position that you're in because you have your the loss of your family members to these health issues that are potentially what the animals in your care are going to help research, but then you also have this you know, strong resume and work experience of literally the highest standards of animal care from an empathetic, place, not just checking off boxes to make sure we don't get written up, but like with the animals well-being in mind. So it's just cool. It's like you were made to be, in the position that you're in. It's funny, right? Because you're like, I don't know what I want to do, and I quit school, and da, da, da. And now here you are at the confluence of, you know, a deeply personal experience and
Yeah.
this amazing career of the highest level of animal care possible. Like those animals in your care are literally they don't know how lucky they are. In a lot of ways, like those animals in your care they're in great hands, just because of the experience, the road that you've been on that brought you to them. So that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit the, as they say, the nail on the nose with it, and I'm, like I said, I'm fortunate to be where I'm at because now it's more of like, people management too, in these type of environments, and there's some ideas that I like to bring. I love to have a good time, and even at work, it's like, how do you bring animal care and also that try to eliminate compassion fatigue, and that's
Mm.
been has been my like research, and like it's so difficult, but I always
Let's
say,
wait, time out. Let's talk about
okay,
compassion fatigue because
yeah,
oh, like even saying it just made me like react with
fatigue.
like a visceral reaction like with fatigue. So like I guess and a kind of a large scale, it's probably a lot of what people are experiencing right now with the news cycle is where it's like, oh my God, this is happening. I feel so awful for them. Oh my God, this is happening. What's going to happen? Like, I feel so terrible about this situation. I don't know what to do. I feel helpless, whatever. A lot of folks, especially in the the shelter and pet kind of care field realm experience this what's called oh my gosh, I totally just forgot it. Compassion fatigue, right? Compassion fatigue.
Yeah, compassion fatigue. Yep,
Oh my
yep.
gosh.
See,
So
you're experiencing
I'm
that.
having an episode or something. Yeah, terrible. But yeah, so can you like explain a little more about like the specifics, like what it involves maybe at your different jobs, like maybe through shelter to where you are now?
Yeah, it's to the only place, and I don't know, maybe you're the only place I haven't ever felt compassion fatigue is working with dolphins. I don't know. It just I never felt it. Like I know that there's,
Right.
groups and because I mean I didn't have to do it. And maybe that's something different for you guys. You was
Well,
there when
it was a controlled set of animals. It wasn't like we were constantly having new ones come in,
right.
and as you know, the care was such a high standard.
Yes.
There were not
Yes.
corners being cut. There were not, we were kind of the I don't know, or we were kind of the what do
A
you
model
call
group
it?
of how you will want it. I think it
Well,
was like
and
a
also
model.
they were the stars of the aquarium at the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
there wasn't much we lacked for in terms of care, and we had a ton of people donating things and whatever. So I agree with that statement. I didn't experience it very much there. I mean, there would be times where you're going on vacation or something, or you're thinking about leaving the field and you're like, oh no, like what if but how's anyone gonna know that, Spirit's favorite game is XYZ with this toy and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's the extent of it. But yeah, so anyway, sorry.
But yeah, I would say that's the only place I didn't have never felt it. My first time ever experiencing compassion fatigue was at parks. Only it's an animal shelter. It's bound. We're trying to, and once again, you have these compassionate people. We're trying to do our best. We don't have all the resources, or we do not have enough space for every animal. So it is was
Work
very
just
much.
doesn't stop. It just
Yeah, it
it doesn't
doesn't.
stop.
It doesn't stop.
And of
Yeah,
all the Bob Barkers in the world that are encouraging people to get their pets spayed or neutered, like you just can't get to everybody, and so that
yeah.
constant flow of new animals that need homes is
Yeah,
it's yeah, I could definitely do. You could probably do a whole podcast on just shelter work and
yeah,
shout out to all the shelter workers out there, volunteers. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, I volunteer at the SPCA here, and it's a you would die. This facility, when I tell you they were like Trader Joe's, no, it was probably even Whole Foods, fancy cheeses in the animal food fridge one day. I went to open it up because it's like string cheese most of the time for the dogs. Sidebar, sorry. I open this fridge and it's like cheeses I can't even pronounce. I was like, who the hell got these dogs these fancy ass cheese? Like this shelter is like lacking for nothing, but it's still a constant. Animals get returned for dumb reasons, and just it's so it's exhausting, and people burn out very fast. And I think I'm pretty sure, and I'll put this in the show notes, but I'm pretty sure that the veterinary field has a very high suicide rate. That's
yes. No, you are
that's what I
absolutely right.
understand. It's
Yeah,
it's just it's exhausting. It is exhausting.
yes.
Oh, now I'm sad.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
no. So, call to action. Volunteer at your local shelter. Get out there and help the staff. They deserve it. And make sure your local legislative body is giving funds to places like Barks, places like your city and county shelters. Anyway, so life, where you saw
yes,
that versus where you are now and taking care of your
yeah.
staff.
Yeah, so, I would, shelter and I would say now, like, it's oh my god, like, yes, it's me being in a I have more compassion fatigue because, like I said, I'm involved so much involved more with people myself where it was like, I was just a technician. I was like, oh, okay, I have my work and there's somebody like, there's animals come in there, stuff I gotta do. It just used to be just about me. But now since oversee people, I was like, oh, okay. Like I
Yeah,
went
you
in
have
there
the
trying to be
humans and the
you
animals
have
to
the
worry about
animals.
now, and it's
Yes.
you've been in the field now, so you can probably see the face of a younger staff member who's just experiencing compassion fatigue for the first time, or having that gravity hit them of like, "Oh, this is really heavy today because we had to do something that, isn't like fun." And playing with dolphins, it's the work that the animals are here for. It's whatever it is. And so I can only imagine, like, you have to be like dad a little bit and be like, hey, you want to go get lunch? Like,
Yeah.
you want to take a day off? Like, how are you doing? Like, I'm sure you have to kind of have your finger on the pulse almost of how your staff is doing.
Yeah, yeah. I always so one thing I do is I always try to check in with everybody. When I ask them how they're doing, I'm in the facility every day. We're a little short staffed, but I'm in the facility every day. I actually have an area of myself that I take it over. I know one of my staff members was telling me like, yeah, usually typically the project managers is just like in a nice shirt and
Right.
pants, but
They don't get
I'm
their
over
hands dirty either.
yeah, they don't get their hands. But I always said if I had an opportunity to be in leadership, I'll be different. Only reason why, because I believe that in order to provide the bigger picture, you have to be inside the picture. You can't be on the outside giving like directions if you don't. I see so many times where managers will look at their team lead or they'll look at one of the senior techs and be like, well, how did that work again? Like what? Like,
Or they're making
but
decisions and, like, protocol changes that,
yes,
like, when was the last time you worked a shift? When was the last time you cleaned out, an enclosure? When was the last
yes.
time you talked to the people on the floor? I think that is, like, maybe that's, like, a our generation thing that I feel like for the longest time, my list for leadership was, like, how not to be. Like, it wasn't
No,
very much like,
literally, yeah,
and I love that you get to be that person now and be like, "Okay, what did I need when I was a young team
yeah.
member coming up?" That's oh, that's so fun. That's, like, such a inspiring kind of place to be.
Yeah, no, I take sometimes like we we just talk about others. I think what also that I see that help is like talking to things that's not about work. Like I want to know, like, what do you do this weekend? And we talk about it and that leads a conversation and we just have conversation about and people are like, oh yeah. And
Yeah,
then
relaxing.
you see that, yeah, you see that relaxed posture. Somebody told me I should do industrial psychology, and I was like, "I don't need that." I was like, "I already got it." I was
Yeah,
like, "I don't
yeah,
need
really
another degree." I
yeah.
was like, "I already got it," because that's something I'm always like, when I ask, I really care. They'll be and they're interested in what I'm doing. They know I fish and bowl and stuff. So we have those outside conversations and it's not to say like you don't have to be personal with it. You don't have to be like, well, my Uncle Joe asked me for $50. Yeah, no. Talk about something fun. Talk about something. Even if you were like it was hard labor or something. Yeah, I did a garden this week. Okay, what you? I don't know too much about flowers. What you planted? You know what I mean? So we have those type of conversations, and I mean, it's almost like an icebreaker. But the icebreaker lasts so long that you kind of forget that you're at work. So
You
it's like it's
exhale a little, you kinda, like, um
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, like, you get the focus, your mind is focused on something else for a minute, and I don't know how much it helped. I don't got no data on this stuff, but from what I see, from what my staff sees, is that it helps that they have someone at least that is have oversight of them, that they really care about them as the individual
Trust
person.
and
Yeah,
trust. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things to do outside of work, one of my questions that I'm gonna ask my guests because again, hopefully we're reaching folks that, science podcasts aren't their first choice when they're looking for something to listen to on the drive, while they're making food, whatever. And one of the things that I want to do is really underscore the fact that just because you're in STEM doesn't mean you're like doing math on your free time. Like, I mean, no
Yes.
offense if y'all, if that's what,
Not
yeah,
me.
like I can't even handle Sudoku. Okay, I'm like numbers in my free time. No, 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 thank you,
No.
no, thank you. But like, I like to underscore the fact that people in STEM, scientists, PhDs, folks that are just boots on the ground STEM supporting workers are people too. We like to do
Yeah.
non-sciencey things, believe it or not. So what is it that, you mentioned bowling and fishing, but like what are you into that maybe isn't sciencey or nerdy?
So something I am into that is not sciencey or nerdy, and I love to make people laugh and have a good time. I actually do stand-up comedy.
I
I do
love this
stand-up.
so much. I love
Yeah,
this so much.
so so during the day, I'm this professional, but at night, find your local open mic and work on some jokes. Or one of the biggest things, and I applaud myself for this. I had the chance to open up at one of the Baltimore Comedy Factory, which is a very well known
That's a
place
huge
where
deal.
traveling. traveling comedians come and shout out to Alabama. I don't know if
All
he's
right.
gonna ever see this, but
Yeah, right.
he gave me the opportunity to perform at his Mother's Day show, and he really gave me the gift of gab of just telling me how well I did, and from seeing him from all these years of just going there to watch other comedians and to be on that stage, played a oh my god, it was amazing. But I love comedy. I love the art of stand up because that also intertwines in
Yeah.
of us just talking or cracking a joke at work and working on them. They don't know. I mean, they might know now, but using
You
them as
they're your
guinea
test
pigs,
animal. Yeah, I get it.
using them as the test subjects. So, yeah, comedy, man, stand up
Do
comedy.
you feel like that probably like we were just talking about compassion fatigue? Do you feel like that's probably like one of the most optimal like outside work activities because you can't, you're laughing, you're making people laugh, you're feeding off the energy of the audience. They're coming up and talking to you after. Like, surely that's going to be a great way to like end your work week. That's a little
Yes.
heavier, a little more serious. Like, what a great yin to yang scenario there.
No, it is. It is. It's just that, especially if I had like a rough day, which those days do come. But sometimes I'll be like, I'm just gonna go to an open mic, even if I'm not working on nothing. Just being in that environment and talking to other, comedians that are actually like kind of doing this full time, or like, or like I said, just doing this full time. So it's good to talk to them and see other comedian friends and things like just being in that environment. Like I was saying about the staff, it helps me just relax, get away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, oh tomorrow. I know. I always say it's always good to have a plan for tomorrow, but tomorrow we don't never know which way it's going to go. So,
No.
but
No.
but live in the moment, and relax. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
stand up
do
comedy.
stuff that's scary because that like as we know as animal husbandry people, enrichment is important. And for
Yes.
myself, like just going out there and doing something that's a little like I went camping by myself for the first time a few weeks ago, and it was what I needed. I needed this, like, how do
By
I do
yourself.
this? Yeah, yeah, by myself in the Sierra Nevada, like forest or Sierra National Forest, like near Yosemite. It was wild, but it was delightful, and I met wonderful people. And it was like I failed. I sucked at things. I forgot the thing that connects the propane to the grill, so I had to have like cold turkey sandwiches the whole weekend. Like, but I lived, and that like ripping off the band-aid, that like not adrenaline, but that just like out of your comfort zone really
Hmm.
does
Yeah.
help you process all of the like frustration or the grief or the just everyday monotony that work or life brings. So I can imagine standing up in front of a crowd of people like that and going through jokes that you've hewn, you've crafted, and
Yeah.
worked on, just to be like, judge me, like
Yeah. Literally,
that's
that's how it is.
terrifying.
Let me know.
Oh my god, yeah, yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. Like, what do we got? That's amazing. So I love that. I love that. It definitely makes you a fun boss, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, I play all day. I'm not um my management style, and I can go into that, but my management style is transitional leadership. Like anytime I come somewhere, I like to hear from the staff, and I like to hear how things was ran before me, because I might take things from it, and I might a lot of the things I change. It's just that I feel like they have worked. This would be my third opportunity to be in leadership. So I felt like the last two places, they're getting this new fresh face, and and sometimes you just get to go with the flow because you want people to like you right off the grip.
Mhm.
But then if a process is really not working, like go in there and like, hey, this is the plan to change it because you guys been doing it this way, but we also been not getting anywhere. So you're not going to be liked during the beginning, but then once you get that buy factor, they're like, oh my god. And then they're like, oh, you're leaving? Like, yeah, I'm like I'm
You're
done.
like
Yes.
Mary Poppins just floating in and being like, this is how it's gonna be, and then see you later.
My staff, I have a funny story right now. My staff, so I just graduated with my master's.
That's awesome. Yes.
But my staff, what they call me is I think it's like Sheen Poppins or something, or they like
No way.
They call me Stream Poppins because they think, I mean, eventually I tell them too, because I'm like, hey, if you find, I'm not the type of manager to be like, no, you got to be here for 20 years, baby. If you find opportunity out there, I'm willing to like look over your resume and be a reference for you. I just ask that you make sure, because this is something that I do. Is that the transitional phase is really easy as it could be for us. So if you let me know a month in advance that you're leaving, okay, I can put out, try to find someone else, or you might have recommendations. So I like to have that conversation. I don't like a lot of people, and I don't want to say too
Gatekeeping. It's
much.
like
Yeah,
gatekeeping.
once they put in their 2 weeks, they're just like, "Oh, they hate me. They
But
don't
yeah,
love me
that
no more." No, because a lot of times is that you might work with someone and then like now, like they didn't know, nobody was like, oh no, you're a manager now? Like, oh, I didn't know you work. I didn't know like, when HR sent me over. Oh yeah, I worked with you. It was great to work with you. So I look at it, you put your 2 weeks in respectfully, and I do my best to, make the transition easier for you myself. So I don't like how you put your 2 weeks in and then
right. Well, and I think again, it's generational stuff. Like that's
yeah,
kind of we came up with like not great examples for like
yeah.
manager, and no offense to any former managers who are listening, I probably don't mean you. But like
Yes.
we didn't have like the best example for healthy work culture, let's say. And where I'm at now, like I'm super grateful because my managers and leadership is straight up like, how can we help you get to where you want to be? Does that mean leaving the institution? All right, like we want you to be
Yeah.
happy. We want you to like do what you want to do and do good work because we see your talent. We know you. So like being able to be that person on the flip side of it and give that same speech is pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
definitely,
no, no. I
achievement
think
unlocked.
yeah, I think the staff really appreciates, and I really appreciate it because, like I said, when I came in, I told the senior vet tech at the time that I kind of wanted to meet with everybody, and everybody was a little like
Yeah.
and just to get to meet people one on one, and it wasn't a conversation of like, how long you been here and like how, what skills do you have? No, no, no. It was literally like, "Hey, man, my name is Rysheem. I love anime. I love dolphins. I do," and they was like, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, my name is such and such, and I love this." And it was just, and like I'd be like, it gets to a point where I was like, "Oh, got to meet with the next person." But I look forward to, continue to have these conversations. Like I said, I've been there 8 months, and we still have these conversations, and I know them, on an individual level, which is always great.
Great.
It's great
That's
for
really
and it's great for productivity too. Like people are more give you more when you give them more in a way.
absolutely.
So
Oh yeah, and when they feel like a person and an individual, and not just like a cog in the machine,
yes.
for
Yes.
sure.
You'd be like, oh yeah, what's that ACT3 name? Or like you like, what's that tech name? And I was like, oh, who you
Right.
talking about? You talking about such and such, you talking about Samantha, you talking about, what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you yeah, no, know your people. I can't wait to get to a senior level leadership. I think that's the goal, like
Yeah.
it,
Hell
it
yeah.
really,
Yeah.
like
Anybody like this is an official endorsement. If you get a opportunity to work for Rysheem Mcgirt, jumping back over to science, do you have like a favorite project that you were involved with in terms of like research and the results that it yielded? Like, can you talk a little bit? Remember, no big words. Can you talk a
yes,
little
no
bit
big word.
about the science that I don't know, it was something that you kind of remember and stuck out to you as like, this is really cool. I can't believe I'm helping with this, or I got to help with that.
Yeah, so I just think the one thing that I had a oh my God, I don't want to say like I've been like not directly involved with, but like a lot of other cancer model research that is going on. I don't know. I'm sure I can't. I don't know right now where they are at. But when I was at the University of Maryland, there was a doctor by the name of Dr. Rena Lapidus who when I first met her, um, she was just talking about her family and cancer and why she became a researcher for cancer. So having her animals in those models and understanding, I feel like they were athomic mice. So they are athomic, meaning like the new mice that you see. They are so athomic is another word for new. So they are missing a so why they are important for a research is because they are immunodeficient and they are missing the T cell.
Okay.
So it allows for
Oh, hold
tumors to
on. Let me catch up here. You're talking about
yes.
naked mice.
Naked mice,
Naked mice.
yes.
Because, like, we're from Baltimore, hon, so your accent sounded a little bit like you said "new," as in, like, "This a new type of mouse that's it's" and I was like, "Wait a minute,
Yes.
what?" So it's a hairless or a
So,
furless
yeah,
mouse.
so hairless mouse, and it's missing a certain cell that usually attack,
Oh,
cancer cells.
got it.
So that's why they use that because they want them to be able to develop the cancer so that they can use the drugs without the help of the cell. So they was trying to figure it out. So when she was explaining that to me, like I said, I wasn't directly involved with that, but she told me the process of her just thinking of what model of animal to use. And, once she found that out, and then I guess just like I said, I wasn't directly involved with none of the research itself,
Sure, sure.
but the overall just like taking care of the animals that
It makes
were in
you
the
does
research.
it make you, like, not that you would ever not do your job to a the fullest extent, but, like, doesn't it knowing what a study is about that you're supporting, I bet that makes you like, "I'm gonna clean that cage again. Like, let me make sure that, like, this paperwork is legible," like, all those
Yeah.
things because it's like
She
it's
might have got special attention. Her cages probably got special attention. No, it was. Like just I talked to every researcher that came. I used to have about this room had 13 PIs in it. And I knew every
PIs.
research assistant. Oh, sorry, PIs, principal investigator. So they are the researcher over the research. Sorry, PI said.
Nope.
Yeah,
That's great. Yep.
sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay, that's why we're here.
So I knew every face that was coming in my room, even if they was new. They didn't my job didn't even have a training program, but they was like, "Oh, just go to Rysheem, he'll tell you what to do, what you need to know."
What?
But they would come in, I would, "Hey, who you work for?" "Oh, you work for Doctor Such and Such." "Okay, what would you be doing in the room?" I would be that involved based off I just want them to know how much I cared. That I wasn't just here changing cages or I wasn't just here cleaning animal. I care to an extent that I want to also get to know you. What made you, do research? So yeah, but I might have cared for Miss Lafita, Dr. Lafita's animals more than anything because they were the cancer research model because she also asked me my story and things like that. And that was that connection. But it does also just in general just knowing what researches is going on, it does make you feel involved internally. And then, yeah,
Being
it
a
motivates.
science, like, nerd anyway, you're like, I can't go to the doctor without, like, being like, "Okay, so why is this happening? Okay, so this is, like okay, this body part," using, like, pulling out the old, like, anatomy and physiology terminology, and the doctors are always like, "What? Are you in med school or something?" I'm like, "No, I'm just
Right,
bored."
right.
But so I can imagine, like, it's very easy to kind of get, excited about the work that you're doing because it's directly supporting this amazing research or science that's happening, and it's also really, like, reassuring, hopefully for listeners and audience members too, that there are, white coats, PhDs, researchers,
Yes.
whatever, that do care about you as a person and aren't aloof, kind of snooty, that there's this kind of
Mhm.
like I don't know, I guess it's a stigma a little bit or a
It is.
stereotype
Yep.
about folks that have these higher degrees. And we've both met the people like that too. There are folks like that that unfortunately are just not people, but it's not the rule. It's not the rule. It's the exception. It's the most of these folks have a why just like you do, just like any of us do, and they have a desire to help and make the world, society, health, whatever, a better than they found it. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yep.
reassuring to hear that she was that person for you,
Yeah.
and kind of your
Yeah.
equal in that way. Like, let me talk to everybody, let me shake their hand, let me meet them, kind of thing. That's great.
Yeah. And it works vice versa too, because a lot of times they, and I always listen. They was like, well, the technicians that was in here before, they never did what you did. They'll say, oh, they never said good morning,
You're
or,
like,
let us know, asking us,
duh.
how we doing, or if we needed extra supplies and things. They always, and just in the work environment, we have to change that. We have to. I worked at Blue Point Crab House, and I'll go into that too.
Yes.
I worked at Blue Point Crab House where I've learned customer service. Now, I didn't always get the best customers, but I always gave the best customer service that I know how. And dealing with that, like I said, never getting the best customers, even with them, like, okay, I apologize. What was wrong with your order? And listening. Oh, no, that's actually, hey, that's not actually not your order. We messed up again. Apologies for that. Just give us a minute. Would you like a soda while you wait? Things going that extra mile will have people coming back more than you know it. Because then it's hard for them to be mean to you. Or like it's hard for them to
You're
be
right.
upset because
Yeah,
they're
that's
like,
true.
you
That's
gave me the
true.
extra soda, but my order was messed up. But he was
Yep.
so nice. So
That yeah,
that's
and
how I
he
think
and
of
you
it.
owned it. You owned it too. Like, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's
You
such a
took
good point.
accountability.
That's such a good point. Like, that's another thing that I hope comes up again and again in this podcast, and then it's one of the reasons that I wanted to start it, is because there are so many people in STEM that have PhDs, that are researchers, that whatever, that had to work. They worked fast food to get their degree. They worked
Yeah.
retail. They did customer service. They worked hospitality at a hotel, whatever, coming up. And so they have that sense of empathy, first of all, and secondly, customer service, and they're able to kind of relate to folks, whereas a lot of folks, and I don't want to make a blanket statement here, but if you don't have that kind of real world experience, it's very hard for you in a workplace, or a tense situation, to be able to
Mhm.
pull in that kind of like, okay, I'm not pleased with how this is going, but let's find out more about it first before I
Yes, I
like
agree.
have a reaction or
I
whatever,
agree.
and
Yeah.
I think that's what's so good about talking to folks and having these conversations, like, you and me, is like, there's not too many people where I work right now that have worked in quick service food, have, had to work part-time retail to make the ends meet, have student loan debt. So it's you can tell sometimes the folks that, had to have those jobs, or whatever, and maybe didn't get as much real world experience. And again,
Yeah.
this isn't a statement that like one person's better than the other, but
Correct.
I think, going back to our talk about millennials and generational kind of workplace lessons that we've learned. So many of us, like, millennials invented gig culture, America. So we've always had part-time jobs doing retail, part-time jobs doing, DoorDash or whatever. Like, so we've always had to have a customer service kind of like crash course built into
Yeah.
our life experience. And maybe that is
Yes.
part of what makes us um hopefully better bosses, and and better, I'm gonna say, the future of STEM, and making it more accessible, making it less scary, less other to people that aren't in STEM, aren't science motivated. So that's my like soapbox statement.
Going back to the degree part is like, I was also told in school that, oh, if I get a bachelor's, I can be making over 70,000. Or if I got a, what I mean?
I love
And
fairy tales. That's so fun.
we have to start, like, a lot of things start within schools. We have to, like, because I was like told, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I have friends, and probably you as well, that went probably got their went straight through school. And when they got out, oh no, we need the experience. And then
Paid experience,
yeah,
and yeah, all that.
yeah.
Oh
And
my
then they
god.
probably went back to work in retail, and probably just fell in love with that and gave up on the
I
sciences.
have a lot of friends, and not just the sciences, but like teaching
Well,
and
yeah,
wherever
yeah,
else, and
yeah.
they're making six figures. So why would you?
The school I came from, we made it work. We wasn't getting too much money from the city. Then it became like a public charter school. The charter school wasn't really giving us anything, but with great leadership, like if you didn't couldn't afford their uniform, a teacher will always look out, or like it just starts on, like, I think teachers are the foundations of a student's success,
Yeah,
bottom line.
absolutely.
And then because if they can, a lot of teachers help me learn the real world instead of telling me I don't understand the real world. Well, if I don't understand, it is your job to teach me. Well, some teachers might say, "Oh no, it's your parents' job," but there were some teachers like, "Yeah, this is how you pay a bill. This is how you open a bank account, things like that." I'm a teacher. I'm struggling. I used to thought teachers make a lot of money.
Right? Like, no.
Yeah, because if you have your degree, if you're telling me I have to go to college, and you have your degree, and you're not making enough money, why do you do it?
Yeah. And the
Why
student
are you
loan
doing
situation, like
it? Yeah,
Baltimore City schools are getting so much hate right now. And from what I've
yeah.
seen, it's always from people who didn't grow up there, who didn't
Mhm.
go to Baltimore City schools, don't know any Baltimore. Like my accent is coming out real bad when we
Yeah, yeah,
talk
it
about
is,
this.
it is, it is.
Dang. But like
I was like, "Oh, you back home? You in Patterson Park?" No. Dick.
oopsie. That east
It's
side,
okay.
baby. That east side, it just stays in you, boy. but
Yeah,
like I know so many Baltimore City school teachers. Like I in a lot of ways, they were kind of my chosen family in my 20s that like kept my bills paid sometimes, kept me fed sometimes. Like they didn't have I wasn't a student, like they didn't have motivation to do that for me other than they're just good people that want to see people do well, and so it bums
yes.
me out to see this bad press that they're getting. And you
Yeah.
know Mayor Scott, I think I'm a big fan, and I think it's going in a much better direction, and it's a totally different system and city than you or me grew up with, for sure.
Yeah, I
For
think
sure.
I think my final job might be I might run for mayor one day.
Heck
I don't
yeah.
know. I think it would be fun. I don't know any. I mean, I do know things about
Yeah, no, you
campaigning,
know a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
but I don't know. I think that job would be fun. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'll probably
Get a
try to
lot
visit
of
every
heat,
meeting
man.
before.
So
Yeah, I
much.
know.
Everybody
I'm
knows
ready for it.
everybody
I'm
knows how to
ready
be the
for it.
mayor except for the mayor apparently. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
don't know. I
Everybody
couldn't
has
handle it. I
these
couldn't
great
handle it.
ideas. I would probably start low and just probably be the first district councilman first. Shake
You
hands,
gotta
kiss a couple babies. Yeah, I
That's
work
right.
my way up.
Oh my god, yeah, that's true. You gotta start somewhere. Oh man. I wanted to ask you, because you said last time we talked, you told me a fact that blew my freaking mind, and it was the sorry, going back to science, we're switching gears again. Um, talking about mice, and there maybe it's a certain breed of mice, but you said that mice share a huge percentage of
Oh,
DNA, because a lot of
yes.
people, the argument is like, what the hell are we doing this to these mice for? They're not humans. Like it's not. They only live a certain, a couple of years. I think in most cases. Like how is this? We're not covered in fur. Like we don't have. How is this going to relate? But you told me that mice actually share a huge percentage of DNA with humans.
Yes, it's the genome. So it's about I can't, but it's in the 90s. I would tell you that. It's even like 94 point something something something. And I haven't looked at it recently, but yeah, might share a lot of because there's a lot of different genetic.
Maybe I can look it up.
Yeah, you might can look it up.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of yeah, yeah, a lot of different types of model of mice, a lot of different, yeah, they
oh,
have diabetic.
97.5.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I would have never
That
thought that. I would have never thought that.
when I learned that, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
So that's why mice are heavenly used because yes, they don't even in a natural environment, they don't last long because they develop so quickly. So like mice are considered geriatric at 2 years of age. So, if something that's small that develops quick and have almost that genome, like you said, 97 something, and then we're able to put implants in something like that, or study insulin levels, and then give us that, and it's able to convert over to humans. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
because I guess everybody, for the most part, anybody who's taken a science class at some point knows that you can't just do one study and be like, "We've cured cancer because this one
Yeah.
result from this one thing." You have to have pretty big numbers of sample, in other words, individuals involved in a study. You have to have as long a time period as you can, but when you're studying humans, our life expectancy is, 70 to 90 years old in most cases. No one's going to be around that long to
Yeah.
study somebody at
Yeah.
the end of their
Yeah.
lifespan. So the mice give an opportunity to have a huge population that you're studying and to see
Hmm.
multiple generations
Yeah.
of
Yes.
individuals. That's really interesting. I guess I kind of knew that, but I had never really thought about it that way. So, and I'm sure that's like news to a lot of folks that aren't seeking this kind of stuff out. So,
Yeah, yeah, because they are of course, the number one animals that are used in research. And like I said, they get a bad, like, people don't like rodents, but mice, I like them a lot. Just the different colors and shapes or things they might appear to be, but they do a lot for us in the science community, in the research that is being developed on them.
yeah,
Mhm.
underappreciated
Yeah,
species. And I think, like, working with animals in any capacity, it's always surprising how much personality, it doesn't matter if it's a snake or a tortoise or a fish even, like, the
yeah.
amount of, like, personality and, just, like, knowing, like, "Oh, I don't know, I took care of lizards that, like to look out the window every day at the same time." It was so crazy. They would go 2 different species, and they would go, it was at the aquarium, in the Australian exhibit when you head up the National Aquarium in Baltimore. If you go into the Australian exhibit, you go up escalators first. One of the exhibits straight ahead is a little
Is it
glass.
like with the skinks and stuff?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah, it's
oh,
like
okay.
it's the glass, and then there's, like, rock work behind it, and there's
Yes.
this,
Okay.
for whatever reason, the artist made this little gap in the rock work, and they have this amazing view of the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and, like, this little, it was a, chunky little bearded dragon, I think its name is Pancake, and I think it was a spiny tail or or maybe it was a, uh, uh, it was a skink. What's the one that's like the pine cone?
Pine
Shoot,
cone.
it's got the, like, big, like, shingleback. I was like,
Okay.
"It's got
Okay. Oh, okay.
shingles on it."
Okay. Got you.
So the 2 of
Okay.
them would just sit at this window at, like, 2:30 every day and just look out the window together. So it's like it's amazing to, and maybe we're not helping our case talking about how important animal testing is, but, like, it does give you an appreciation, and maybe it reinforces that sentiment of privilege that we were talking about earlier, for sure. I guess, like, talking about, like, little you and 7-year-old you, the loss of your mom, and not even knowing, like, what death is, like, where you are in the world, let alone what you wanna do with your life. And then maybe 12-year-old you lost your grandma, um, had to figure life out, pay bills. Then college you dropping out and finding your path eventually in a completely different direction. I guess I think a lot about little Amy these days, and I think about, like, little Amy would be pretty happy with grown up Amy, I think.
Yes.
She'd be pretty
Yes.
stoked on it. And so I'm wondering, like, what would, like, little Rysheem, think about where you are right now, like, what iteration of Rysheem would be the most like, "What?" Because, like, me failing math a million times in college and, like, not being able to wake up on time, and if I told my 20-year-old self, like, "Yeah, you live in California and you make X amount of money and this is what you do," I'd be like, "What?" You know?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think, like, little Rasheen would think about where you are now?
Yeah, that's funny. So little Rasheen would for sure tell me that, I always knew that you was going to be able to do it. But middle Rasheen, like middle school, all the way up into like ninth grade, Rasheen would have probably been like, what? Like, you ain't like, I don't know, like, you ain't start, I don't know, going in a different, down the wrong path. And I do think about that because I don't know, like, he would have been like, "Yeah, I don't know how'd you pull this one off? I'm proud of you, but I'm still wondering how'd you get through all that?" And then, like, just hopping the house to house and, like, yeah, I wouldn't have imagined that, I would be, like, where
Running
I'm
a
at today.
whole animal facility at a major military research institution.
Well,
No
I
big
just run the
deal.
contract part, just the contract,
Right?
but,
Oh
yeah,
my god. Let's do like a quick let's do a quick rundown of all the non-science jobs that you've had.
all the DoorDash,
Yeah.
Blue Point Crab House.
Yeah.
I
Would you
worked at
like
Five
you
Guys before.
Oh, I remember that. The one in the harbor?
Yes. Yes, I worked
Yeah,
at
I
It's Sugar.
remember that.
I worked
Oh,
at It's Sugar.
yeah. So retail, food
Um,
service. What Go back to the Blue Point crab. So for people that aren't familiar, Baltimore is known for its steamed crabs, which are
yeah.
delicious. But so were you delivering crabs? Because I remember seeing selfies and stuff of you like, "Hey, I'm at work again," like kind of thing.
So the so the crabs that you see is me, like, there are the fresh crabs coming off the truck,
Oh, okay. All
ready to
right. So
be
you
steamed. So, yeah, so
okay.
that's a process. A lot of people like, "How do you," like, y'all get them in these, like, crates, say, like, these special crab crates. So there are the fresh crabs
Where
coming
were
in.
you
There
picking
was
them up?
Oh, no, so there's actually crabbers that come in, and then they do, like, "Oh, I got, 12 bushels. How much y'all wanna give me for 12 bushels?" And then, the owners, they buy them and things like that. Or sometimes we used to have our own crabbers, and then we had some commercial crabbers too,
Okay, cool.
that they had
So
a
that
great relationship with.
They probably didn't smell great, but I feel like you would never get the smell of steamed crabs and Old Bay and JO spice out of your car if you were carrying around steamed crabs all day. I was like, okay, I'm glad. I was like, man, I had to do fried chicken for a hot second there doing catering, and that car, I'd have to have like all the windows down on the way home with the like, it could be freezing. I'd be like, I don't care. I just don't want it to smell like fried chicken anymore.
No, that's understandable. I mean,
Oh,
but my clothes, oh my god,
oh,
my crab I had dedicated crab clothes
crab
because they
clothes.
had to be washed, like, not with my regular clothes because, like, the detergent did not work, or
Oh
or you just had
God.
to soak them,
No,
and I had dedicated crab shoes because that Old Bay season, it'll tear some shoes up. It'll tear some shoes up.
that's the most Baltimore thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yes. Yes,
There's
it'll
what she
tear
was
some
up.
shoes up.
Hold up, does Blue Point ship? Because I want crabs real bad, and I'm on the West Coast, and they like boil everything out here. It's like stone crabs and stuff. I know, I know. They make fun of me because at work I keep an old day can in my lunchbox. They're like, "What? Why do you have that?" I'm like, "Keep that thing on me, man. I got boiled eggs. Like I got leftovers. Like what do you want from me? I gotta keep it ready. Like."
No,
Oh, that's so
no.
annoying. Oh my gosh. Anyways, okay, so Five Guys, it's sugar. Where else?
The aquarium, before
The
working with
aquarium.
you guys, I was custodial.
Custodial.
Yes, I used to work,
Oh,
BWI.
Mr. Jerry. I think he
Um,
retired, right?
yes, Mr.
Oh,
Jerry retired.
best. Anyway.
Yeah,
And then yeah, you were at
yeah,
BWI, also doing custodial, right? Down there at the
yes.
airport.
I Yeah, I worked with Patterson Park Partnership. That was just the cleaning of the park and stuff.
Yeah.
You'll probably work like 2 to 3 hours, and they'll pay you, like, I forgot how much it was.
Yeah.
And where else did I work? And that's it.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, and it's all like, yeah, I just like talking about it because it's like people think you work at this fancy research facility and like whatever, and it's like, yeah, but I'm a person. I've had
Yes,
I've had other jobs too, but
yes. Fun
anyway,
fact, I still do DoorDash.
who doesn't have a side hustle these days? I'm like,
It's the best. It's like, I always my staff was really like, they was like, "You about to go dashing?" I was like, "Yeah, it's, like, hot out here right now."
about to
And
go
they was like,
dash.
"Oh, okay."
Do you have like a favorite science myth that like I'm trying to think. It could be any topic. It could be dolphins. It could be any topic. Like, do you have like a favorite thing that people get wrong about science that you love to kind of like myth bust? Like, I ruin people's days on a regular basis about dolphins because everyone thinks that like they're so cute and they want to rescue you and da 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 da.
Yeah,
Like, oh, we know better. Or like sharks, like me and shark facts. I love that. Like when people are like, "Oh, dangerous!" Like, "Oh, aren't you afraid there's sharks?" Like whatever. I'm like, you're more likely to be bitten. There are more people bitten every year by humans than by
yeah,
sharks. Like I love that. Do you have like just a quick science myth bust to share?
yeah. That we use animals off the street, like for research, and that is not true. There's a whole if there's an animal, like for instance, in a pest trap that is like an outside mouse or outside snake or whatever, people think we use that animal. We cannot, according to USDA, um, we can't use the animal. People be like, no, they be taking dogs from shelter. Now, back in the day,
Yeah.
back in 1970, they used to use animals from shelters, but we can no longer do that anymore. You know what I mean? So people still think that we use random animals, like I don't know, that we just go catch wild mice or yeah, yeah, it really is. It's not that easy, but they think we yeah.
Interesting. That's really funny. I had never heard that. I guess because I have the bio degree and stuff, like I would have never thought like, oh yeah, they just catch up stuff off the street and use it. So that's interesting. Huh, good. All right, cool. Myth officially busted. It's really hard to be optimistic about science right now and STEM right now because it's just the way things are going. But what's one thing, whether it's in your field or just like across the board, that you're excited about when it comes to science and STEM? It gets you excited.
I get excited about when people are able to connect science with what it has helped them with. I think if somebody was like, I don't know, like they was doing compost and they was like, oh, well, I read up something. I like this. I didn't know that this helped the environment. And you're like, yeah, I'm composting now. Like
Yeah,
little things like that help me, or using rainwater to water flowers. It is a technique to it now. And somebody was like, well, I looked on, and social media, and a lot of things, social media can be great and it
yeah.
can be bad.
Right.
But people be like, oh yeah, I looked on TikTok or I was on YouTube University and I learned how to use this. You know what I mean? It's just always nice when they can connect it back to like science, and it's like it's cool.
Like people that aren't necessarily like seeking out science stuff, like you and me, we might be more likely to like watch Sir David Attenborough's new thing,
Yeah.
but like people that are just cruising TikTok and they're, seeing recipes and whatever, and then they come across
Yes.
something like a rain barrel or just whatever dumb tip that probably A saves money, first of all, and B, maybe gets rid of something around the house that you don't need or whatever. But
Yeah. No.
thirdly is a science related thing. Like I love that.
Yep.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a cool time to kind of be watching folks rediscover the fact that like science is for everyone and it
Yeah.
benefits everyone.
And it doesn't require you to do much research sometimes. You
Or
just see a video.
a white coat or to have a fancy
Yeah,
degree
like
on the wall or whatever. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that, yep, you got it down pat, yes.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I've had so much fun. Like, first of all, catching up with you because I haven't seen you in
Yeah,
forever.
I
And
know.
just learning the amazing story that you have and the ways that you're inspiring the next generation and setting the standards higher, I guess, for animal welfare in animal testing and changing the field. It sounds like you're right there. You're exactly the person that needs to be doing that. And I'm excited to see where you go next. So thank you so much
Um,
for hanging out today.
no, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to the other people that you are gonna have on here because I really believe what you're doing is great, and I wanna
Right,
see those other people that might not be just animal related,
right.
but just far as a
We got
product
some
or
good
food.
ones. We got
So,
some good ones
so
lined up.
I I am looking forward to that.
I got quite a few. Your shirt, that's a hint to some of the people I'll be talking to. So yeah, so I'm excited and yeah, it's gonna be. We'll probably talk to you again. Let's be real, but I'm excited and thank you so much.
Alright, you're welcome, thank
All
you.
right, end scene. Okay, I'll stop
And then
recording now.
oh my god.
I know. Well, team, we've all officially survived my very first episode of Blue Collar White Coat, and really, my first episode of any podcast ever, for that matter. I promise sound quality will get better after this episode. I've upgraded equipment since recording it, and wow, Rysheem was such a good sport. I really want to make a joke about him being my guinea pig here, but I'm gonna refrain. On a serious note, I hope you enjoyed my talk with Rysheem and learned something about a field of STEM that's often scrutinized by the general public. The reality is, animal testing is, for now, a necessity, but one that hopefully, with the help of AI and other developments in biotechnology, we won't need forever. In the meantime, I'm really glad people like Rysheem and the amazing, compassionate folks on his team have the privilege of caring for the animals involved in research that's saving lives and improving our chances of beating diseases like cancer. Blue Collar White Coat officially launches in August, with episodes dropping weekly. On the next episode, I'll talk to a former teacher from my high school whose departure from our extremely rural hometown for an out-of-this-world job was such a big deal it made the local newspaper. Remember to subscribe to Blue Collar White Coat on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts, and help us reach more listeners by sharing this episode with a friend, coworker, lab group or crew member, or even your next door neighbor. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep your safety glasses on and your mind open.